The rain hammered against the gallery windows with such force that Maya Shepherd thought the glass might shatter. But she barely noticed as she stood before the unfinished canvas, brush trembling in her hand. 3 years of building walls around her heart, 3 years of convincing herself that art was enough, that she didn't need anyone. And now this man stood in her gallery after hours, dripping wet and looking at her like she was something precious. "We're closed," she said, not turning around, knowing somehow that if she looked at him directly, something inside her carefully constructed fortress would crack. "I know." His voice was deep, warm like bourbon, and it made her spine straighten. "I've been standing outside for 20 minutes trying to decide if I should knock." Maya finally turned, and her breath caught. He was tall, well over 6 feet, with dark hair plastered to his forehead from the rain. His suit probably cost more than she made in a month, but he wore it carelessly, like money was just something that happened to him rather than something he chased. Water dripped onto her hardwood floors, forming a small puddle around his expensive shoes. "That's called trespassing," she said, but her voice lacked conviction. The door was unlocked. He took a step closer, and she saw his eyes were gray, the color of storm clouds. "I'm Vincent Quinn." The name meant nothing to her. She lived in her world of paint and canvas and gallery showings, deliberately disconnected from the business section of newspapers and Forbes lists. "Maya Shepherd, and you're getting water everywhere." "I apologize." He didn't move to leave. "I saw your work at the Hastings exhibition last month. The piece called Fractures. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it." Maya's defenses rose immediately. Men who appreciated her art usually wanted something, and she'd learned that lesson the hard way. "It's sold. If you want to make an offer, you'll need to contact the buyer." "I don't want to buy it." Vincent moved closer, his eyes moving from her face to the unfinished canvas behind her. "I want to understand it. The way the colors bled together, the way the breaks in the pattern weren't breaks at all but transformations." It felt like looking at pain becoming something else. Her heart hammered against her ribs. No one had understood that piece, not really. The critics had praised its technical merit and bold use of color, but they'd missed the soul of it. This stranger, dripping rain water on her floor, had seen what she'd poured into every brushstroke. "I don't explain my work," she managed. "I'm not asking you to." He was close enough now that she could smell rain and cedar and something else, something masculine that made her head swim. "I'm just telling you what I saw, what it made me feel." "And what was that?" Recognized. The word hung between them, heavy with meaning. Like someone else understood that breaking isn't always the end. Sometimes it's the beginning of something stronger. Maya gripped her brush harder, feeling paint smear against her palm. "I need to work, alone." "I've been hurt before," she blurted out, the words escaping before she could stop them. She didn't know why she said it, why she felt compelled to warn this stranger away. "I'm not interested in whatever this is." Vincent's expression shifted, softened. Instead of backing away, he held her gaze with an intensity that made her feel exposed. "Then let me tell you something, Maya Shepherd. I'm going to spend forever making you forget that hurt, however long it takes." She laughed, but it came out shaky. "You don't even know me. Not yet." He pulled a card from his jacket pocket, somehow still dry. "But I'd like to. Dinner tomorrow. No expectations, no pressure, just two people sharing a meal. I don't date men I just met. Then get to know me now." "Ask me anything." Maya stared at him, this confident stranger who'd walked into her gallery and turned her carefully controlled evening upside down. "Why did you really come here?" "Honestly," Vincent ran a hand through his wet hair, "I've walked past this gallery 6 times in the last 2 weeks. I kept telling myself to just go in, to see if there were more of your pieces, to maybe meet the artist behind work that moved me, Tonight I finally found the courage, and then I saw you through the window and nearly lost it all over again. That's stalking. That's transparency." He smiled, and it transformed his entire face from handsome to devastating. "I could have made something up, pretended I just happened to wander in, but you said you've been hurt before, and I'm guessing lies were part of that. So here's the truth. I'm 32 years old, I work too much, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about your art or wanting to know the woman who created it since the moment I saw fractures last month." Maya's defenses wavered. There was something disarming about his directness, even as warning bells rang in her mind. "What do you do for work?" "I run a company, manufacturing mostly industrial equipment. It's about as boring as it sounds." He shrugged. "But it means I can afford to buy art I love and take beautiful artists to dinner if they'll let me." "One dinner," she heard herself say, shock running through her at her own words. "Tomorrow at 7, somewhere public. Anywhere you want." Vincent's smile widened. "I'll pick you up here. I'll meet you there." "Fair enough." He moved toward the door, then paused. "Maya, thank you for giving me a chance." After he left, Maya stood in the silence of her gallery, staring at the card in her hand. Vincent Quinn, CEO, Quinn Industries. She typed the name into her phone and felt her stomach drop at the search results. Not just rich. Not even just a millionaire. Vincent Quinn was worth hundreds of millions, a self-made success story who'd built an empire from a single patent before he turned 30. She should cancel. Men like that existed in a different stratosphere, and she'd learned the hard way that mixing different worlds only led to heartbreak. But when she closed her eyes, she saw the way he'd looked at her painting, the recognition in his voice when he described what he saw in her work. Against every instinct of self-preservation she'd developed over 3 years of solitude, Maya wanted to see him again. The next evening, she changed outfits 4 times before settling on a simple black dress that made her feel both confident and comfortable. She'd chosen a small Italian restaurant in her neighborhood, the kind of place where the owner knew her name and the food was more important than the ambience. Vincent was already there when she arrived, standing outside despite the spring chill. He wore jeans and a navy sweater that probably cost more than her rent, but the casual clothes made him seem more approachable, more real. "You came," he said, and she heard genuine relief in his voice. "I almost didn't. What changed your mind?" Maya considered lying, then remembered his words about transparency. "I looked you up. Part of me thinks I should run in the opposite direction from a man worth that much money. And the other part keeps remembering the way you talked about my painting." She met his eyes. "I want to know if that was real or just a very good line." Vincent opened the restaurant door for her. "I've never needed lines. That's not arrogance, just truth. Usually, women know exactly who I am before I introduce myself. You're the first person in years who looked at me and saw just a man." The restaurant was warm and smelled like garlic and fresh bread. Antonio, the owner, greeted Maya with a kiss on each cheek and showed them to a quiet corner table. She saw the moment Antonio sized up Vincent, the protective assessment in his eyes. She'd been coming here since she moved to the city, and Antonio treated her like family. "He seems ready to throw me out if I say the wrong thing," Vincent observed after they were seated. "Antonio is protective. I had a bad breakup a few years ago. He saw the aftermath. The hurt you mentioned." It wasn't a question. Maya nodded, picking up her menu even though she had it memorized. "His name was David. We dated for 2 years. He was charming, successful, everything I thought I wanted. Then I found out he was engaged to someone else the entire time. I was the other woman, except I didn't know it." Vincent's jaw tightened. "That's not just hurt, that's betrayal." "It was both." Maya set down the menu. It made me question everything. My judgment, my worth, whether I was someone who could be loved for real or just used, so I stopped dating. Focused on my art, built a life that felt safe. And now I'm here disrupting that safety. Terrifying me with it, she admitted. The waiter came and they ordered. Vincent asked her about her art, her process, how she'd gotten started. Maya found herself talking more than she'd planned, describing her childhood in a small town upstate, how her mother had died when she was 15, and art had become her way of processing grief. Her father had remarried quickly, too quickly, and she'd felt displaced in her own home. College had been her escape and New York had been her salvation. And the gallery? Vincent asked. How did that happen? Hard work and a little luck. I had a showing at a coffee shop that caught the eye of a collector. She introduced me to the right people, and suddenly doors were opening. I saved everything I made for 5 years and bought this space 3 years ago. It's half gallery, half studio. I show my work and pieces from other emerging artists. That's why you were there so late. You live there. The apartment upstairs. It's tiny, but it's mine. Maya sipped her wine. Your turn. How does someone become a manufacturing mogul before 35, 32? He corrected with a slight smile. And necessity, mostly. My father worked in a factory his whole life. Died at 53 from exposure to chemicals that could have been avoided with better equipment. I was 23, angry, and had an engineering degree I didn't know what to do with. So I designed something better. Got a patent, took out loans I probably shouldn't have, and started building. That's incredibly impressive. Vincent shook his head. It's obsession with a purpose. I worked 80-hour weeks for years. Built the company into something that matters, that makes workplaces safer. But along the way, I forgot to build anything else. I have money and success and an empty penthouse I barely sleep in. No one special? Maya asked, trying to sound casual. No one who wanted me for anything beyond the bank account. His gray eyes locked on hers. I've dated, had relationships that looked good from the outside, but there was always this feeling that they were performing, playing a role. The moment things got real, got difficult, they'd leave. Turns out being rich doesn't protect you from loneliness. Maya felt something shift in her chest. This wasn't what she'd expected. She'd built up a story in her head about what a man like Vincent Quinn would be like, but the reality was more complicated, more human. So why me? She asked. You could have anyone. Because when I looked at your painting, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Like maybe there was someone else out there who understood what it meant to put broken pieces back together in a new pattern. Someone real. He reached across the table, not quite touching her hand but close enough that she felt the heat of his skin. And when you turned around in that gallery, you looked at me like I was just some guy interrupting your work. Do you know how rare that is? I still see you that way. Good, don't stop. Vincent leaned back as their food arrived. Tell me about the piece you were working on last night. They talked through dinner, conversation flowing easier than Maya had thought possible. Vincent was smart, funny in a dry way that caught her off guard, and genuinely interested in her opinions on everything from art to politics to the best pizza in New York. He challenged her perspectives without dismissing them, shared his own views with confidence but not arrogance. When the check came, he paid before she could protest. This one's on me. You can get the next one if you want there to be a next one. Presumptuous, Maya said, but she was smiling. Hopeful, he corrected. Outside, the spring night had turned cold. Vincent immediately shrugged out of his jacket and draped it over her shoulders despite her protests. It smelled like him, cedar and something spicy, and she pulled it closer without thinking. I'll walk you back to the gallery, he said. It's 20 blocks. Then I'll get 20 more blocks of your company. They walked through the city streets, and Maya felt something inside her begin to thaw. Vincent told her about growing up in Queens, about his mother who still lived in the same rent-controlled apartment and refused his offers to buy her something better. He described his sister, a teacher in Philadelphia, and how she kept him grounded when success threatened to distort his perspective. "She'd like you," Vincent said as they turned onto Maya's street. "She's always saying I need someone who'll call me on my garbage. I've known you less than 24 hours, and you've already told me off twice. It's refreshing." Maya stopped in front of her gallery, suddenly not wanting the evening to end. This was nice, better than I expected, damning with faint praise. But Vincent was smiling. "Can I see you again soon? Maybe I need to think." "About what?" Maya handed him back his jacket. "About whether I'm ready to risk feeling something again. About whether you're real or too good to be true. About whether I'm setting myself up for another heartbreak." Vincent's expression grew serious. "I can't promise I won't hurt you. People hurt each other, even when they don't mean to. But I can promise I'll never lie to you, never use you, never make you question your worth. And I meant what I said last night. However long it takes, Maya, I want to be the person who makes you forget that old hurt." "That's a big promise from someone who just met me." "I know." He stepped closer, and Maya's breath hitched. "But I've spent the last 10 years building an empire because I'm good at recognizing when something has potential, when the risk is worth the investment. And you, Maya Shepard, are worth every risk." He didn't try to kiss her, didn't push for more. He just smiled, said goodnight, and walked away. Maya watched him go, her heart pounding, every instinct screaming at her to either run after him or lock herself inside and never come out. She did neither. Instead, she climbed the stairs to her apartment, changed into her painting clothes, and went down to her studio. The canvas she'd been working on glared at her, all dark colors and sharp edges. Without letting herself think, Maya mixed new colors, brighter ones, and began to paint over the darkness with something that looked almost like hope. Her phone buzzed at 2 in the morning. A text from Vincent. "Can't sleep. Thinking about you. Is that too much too soon?" Maya smiled despite herself. "Probably. I'm thinking about you too." "Good night, Maya. Dream well." She did, for the first time in longer than she could remember. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of dinners, long walks, late-night phone calls, and slowly crumbling walls. Vincent showed up at her gallery every few days, sometimes with coffee, sometimes with flowers, once with Chinese takeout because she'd mentioned craving it. He never assumed anything, never pushed, but his consistency felt like a promise in itself. Maya introduced him to her small circle of friends, watching nervously as Alina, her best friend since college, interrogated him over drinks. Alina was a lawyer with a protective streak a mile wide, and she didn't care how rich or charming Vincent was if he posed a threat to Maya's hard-won peace. "He seems genuine," Alina admitted later after Vincent had gone to get them another round. "But so did David at first. I know." Maya twisted her napkin. "I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. Maybe there isn't another shoe. Maybe he's just a good guy who really likes you. Or maybe I'm being stupid again." Alina grabbed her hand. "You're not stupid. You're brave. There's a difference." When Vincent returned, he caught the tail end of their conversation. "What's stupid?" he asked, setting down their drinks. "Nothing," Maya said quickly. "She's scared you're too perfect," Alina said bluntly, earning a glare from Maya. "That this is all an act and she's going to get hurt again." Vincent didn't look offended. He sat down, his expression thoughtful. "I'm not perfect. I work too much. I can be stubborn when I think I'm right. And I have a tendency to try to fix problems with money because that's the tool I'm most comfortable with. Last week I realized I'd forgotten my mother's birthday because I was in back-to-back meetings, and she didn't tell me until I called 2 days later. I felt like the worst son alive. What did you do? Maya asked. Showed up at her apartment with flowers and her favorite pastries and spent the whole day with her. No phone, no work, just us. He looked at Maya. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to disappoint you sometimes. But I'm never going to lie to you or make you feel like you're anything less than extraordinary. That's not perfection. That's just basic human decency. Alina raised her glass. Okay, I like him. Don't screw this up, Quinn. Yes, madam. Later, walking Maya home, Vincent took her hand. It was the first time they'd held hands, and the simple intimacy of it made her heart race. His palm was warm, his grip firm but not controlling. Your friend is intense, he said. She's protective. After David, she helped me pick up the pieces. Remind me to thank her then. Vincent squeezed her hand. I'm glad you have people who care about you like that. They'd reached her gallery. For 3 weeks, they'd said goodnight at this door, and Vincent had never asked to come up. Tonight, Maya found herself wanting to change that pattern. You want to see my studio? She asked. The real one upstairs, not the gallery space. Vincent's eyes widened slightly. Are you sure? No, but I'm asking anyway. The apartment was small, just as she'd said, but Vincent barely seemed to notice. His attention was immediately captured by the canvases everywhere, the organized chaos of her creative space. Colors splashed across every surface, finished and unfinished works leaning against walls, sketches pinned to boards. This is incredible, he breathed, moving carefully through the space like he was afraid to disturb something sacred. Maya watched him, nervous in a way she hadn't expected. This was her private world, the place where she was most vulnerable, most herself. Letting him in felt more intimate than anything physical. Vincent stopped in front of a large canvas covered with a drop cloth. Can I? That one's not finished. Can I still see it? Maya nodded, her throat tight. Vincent lifted the cloth carefully, and she heard his sharp intake of breath. The painting was different from her usual work, softer somehow despite the bold colors. Abstract, but with suggestions of forms of 2 figures moving toward each other through chaos. When did you start this? He asked quietly. The night we met, after you left. Vincent turned to her, and the look in his eyes made her knees weak. Maya, I know, it's too much. We've only known each other a few weeks, and I'm painting like. He crossed the space between them in 2 strides and cupped her face in his hands. Can I kiss you? Maya's heart hammered. Yes. Vincent kissed her like she was precious, like he had all the time in the world. His lips were soft, gentle, coaxing rather than demanding. Maya melted into him, her hands fisting in his shirt, 3 years of self-imposed isolation cracking apart under the tenderness of his touch. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Vincent rested his forehead against hers. I'm falling for you. I know it's fast, I know you're scared, but I need you to know that. I'm terrified, Maya whispered. Every instinct I have is screaming at me to protect myself. Then what's louder than the instincts? This feeling that you might be worth the risk. She pulled back enough to meet his eyes. Vincent, I need you to understand something. I can't do casual. I can't be someone's fun distraction or ego boost. If we're doing this, I need to know you're serious. I've never been more serious about anything except maybe building my company. His thumbs traced her cheekbones. I want this, Maya. I want you, all in for as long as you'll have me. Then stay, she said. Tonight, just to sleep, nothing more. I just want to not be alone. Vincent kissed her forehead. I'd be honored. They lay together on her bed, clothes still on, wrapped in each other's arms. Vincent's heartbeat was steady against her ear, and Maya felt safer than she had in years. They talked in whispers about nothing and everything until she finally drifted off to sleep. When she woke in the morning, Vincent was gone, but there was a note on the pillow. Early meeting I couldn't cancel. Dinner tonight. I want to cook for you. My place. If you're ready to see how the other half lives. V. Maya smiled, equal parts nervous and excited. She texted back. What time? His response came immediately. 7, I'll send a car. I can take the subway. I know you can. Let me spoil you a little. 7, send the address. I'll get there myself. She could almost feel his smile through the phone. Stubborn. You have no idea. The rest of the day passed in a blur of work. Maya had 3 artists coming by to discuss showing their work, and she threw herself into the logistics, grateful for the distraction from her nerves. By the time evening approached, she'd changed outfits twice and given herself 3 different pep talks about how this was just dinner, nothing to freak out about. The address Vincent had sent was in Tribeca, and Maya's stomach clenched when she saw the building. Doorman. Obviously expensive, the kind of place she'd never imagined setting foot in. The doorman greeted her by name, which meant Vincent had told him she was coming and escorted her to a private elevator. Penthouse, miss. Mr. Quinn is expecting you. The elevator ride felt like it lasted forever. When the doors opened directly into Vincent's apartment, Maya nearly forgot how to breathe. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, the entire space decorated in clean lines and understated luxury. But what caught her attention was Vincent, standing in an open kitchen, wearing jeans and a t-shirt, looking more nervous than she'd ever seen him. You came, he said, echoing his words from their first date. Almost didn't, she replied, their familiar rhythm settling her nerves slightly. What changed your mind this time? Curiosity about whether a billionaire can actually cook, she smiled. The internet says you're worth closer to $1 billion than millions, by the way. You downplayed that, Vincent grimaced. I was trying not to scare you off. Is it true, more or less? Depends on stock prices and valuations and a dozen other boring factors. He moved toward her, taking her coat. Does it matter? Maya considered. I don't know yet. That's a lot of money, Vincent, a lot of power, a different world than mine, or just the same world with different problems. He gestured toward the kitchen. Come talk to me while I cook, and for the record, I can cook. My mother made sure all her kids could feed themselves properly. She perched on a bar stool and watched him work. He moved confidently, chopping vegetables, tending to something that smelled amazing on the stove. They talked about their days, easy conversation that made the massive apartment feel less intimidating. Can I ask you something? Maya said after a while. Why haven't you tried to, I don't know, impress me more with all this? The money, the lifestyle. Vincent looked up from the cutting board. Because that's not what drew me to you. Your art, your authenticity, the way you see the world that has nothing to do with my bank account. I want you to want me, not my money. But it's part of who you are. Is it? He set down the knife. Sometimes I'm not sure. I built this company, made this fortune, and I'm proud of that. But some days I feel like the money is this wall between me and real human connection. Everyone wants something. Everyone has an angle, except you. You looked at my address and almost didn't come, not because you were too impressed, but because you were worried about the gap between us. Maya nodded. It's intimidating. This apartment probably costs more than I'll make in my lifetime. The apartment is just space. You made your gallery space into art, which is really more impressive. He came around the counter to stand in front of her. Maya, I know the money is weird. I know it creates this imbalance. But I'm still just the guy who loves your paintings and wants to make you dinner. Can we start there? She pulled him closer, wrapping her legs around him, bringing them eye to eye. I'm trying, I really am, but I need you to be patient with me. I've got nothing but time. He kissed her softly. Now, are you ready to see if this billionaire can cook? He could. Dinner was perfect, some kind of pasta dish with fresh ingredients that tasted like something from a restaurant. They ate at his dining table, the city spread out below them like a blanket of lights, and Maya felt herself relaxing into the evening. After dinner, Vincent gave her a tour of the apartment. Multiple bedrooms, a home office with 3 monitors displaying what looked like company data, a gym that made her laugh because it was probably bigger than her entire apartment. But what stopped her was a small room he opened almost shyly. Inside were paintings. Her paintings. Not just prints, but 3 original pieces she'd sold over the past year, hung carefully on the walls with perfect lighting. "Vincent," she breathed, "these are mine. I know. I bought them through intermediaries because I didn't want to weird you out." He stood behind her, not quite touching. "That's probably creepy, isn't it? It's something." Maya moved closer to examine them. Seeing her work here in his private space felt surreal. "Why these 3? They spoke to me. That one, the blue one, I bought after a particularly brutal day of negotiations. It reminded me there was beauty in the world beyond boardrooms and bottom lines. The red one came later, after I'd walked past your gallery for the 3rd time and still hadn't found the courage to go in. And that one," he pointed to the smallest, a piece she'd done early in her career. "That one I bought 2 days after we met because I was worried I'd never see you again and I wanted something to remember you by." Maya turned to face him, tears pricking her eyes. "That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever done for me. I have 3 of your paintings, but I'd rather have you." Vincent wiped away a tear that had escaped down her cheek. "Stay with me tonight. Really stay this time. Vincent, just to sleep again if that's all you want. I'm not trying to pressure you, I just like having you near." Maya knew she was at a crossroads. She could keep protecting her heart, keep holding back, or she could take the leap and trust that maybe this time, things would be different. Vincent had been patient, honest, consistent. He'd let her set the pace, respected her boundaries, and somehow still made her feel desired and valued. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll stay." They ended up on his couch, Maya tucked against his side, watching the city lights. Vincent played with her hair absently, and she felt the steady rise and fall of his breathing. "Tell me about your company," she said. "The real story, not the glossy version." So he did. Vincent talked about the early days, the struggles, the countless rejections before he got his first major contract. He described the pressure of growing too fast, of making decisions that affected hundreds of employees, of the weight of responsibility that came with success. His voice carried pride but also exhaustion, the toll of a decade spent building an empire. "Some days I think about selling it all," he admitted. "Taking the money and just disappearing, doing something simple." "Would you really?" "Probably not, but it's a nice fantasy." He tilted her chin up to look at him. "Meeting you has made me think about balance, though, about what I'm working for. I've spent 10 years building something that matters professionally, but I've neglected the personal side. I don't want to wake up at 50 and realize I'm rich and successful and completely alone." "You won't be." The words came out before Maya could stop them, a promise she wasn't sure she was ready to make. Vincent's eyes searched hers. "You mean that?" "I'm scared to mean it, but yes." He kissed her then, deeper than before, and Maya felt herself responding, 3 years of holding back finally breaking. When Vincent lifted her, carrying her toward his bedroom, she didn't protest. When he laid her on his bed and asked if she was sure, she pulled him down to her and showed him just how sure she was. Making love with Vincent was nothing like her experiences with David. Where David had been selfish and rushed, Vincent was attentive and patient. He touched her like she was art, something to be appreciated and savored. He paid attention to her responses, adjusted to her needs, and when she finally shattered in his arms, he held her through the aftershocks like she was precious. Afterward, lying tangled together in his sheets, Maya felt the walls she'd built around her heart finally crumble completely. I think I'm falling in love with you, she whispered into the darkness. It terrifies me. Vincent's arms tightened around her. I'm already there. Have been since I saw fractures. I'm terrified too. Why? You seem so confident. Because you have the power to destroy me. He kissed her temple. I've built companies, negotiated deals worth millions, stood in front of shareholders and defended my decisions. None of that scares me like the thought of losing you. Maya rolled to face him. Then don't give me a reason to leave. Keep being honest. Keep being this version of yourself. Not the CEO or the billionaire, just Vincent. I can do that. Can you promise me something in return? What? Stop waiting for me to turn into him. Into the man who hurt you. Vincent's gray eyes were serious in the dim light. I know trust has to be earned and I'm willing to earn it, but you have to give me the chance. Don't punish me for his sins. Maya felt the truth of his words settle into her bones. She'd been doing exactly that, looking for signs of betrayal, waiting for the relationship to sour. I'll try. That's all I can promise right now. That's enough. They fell asleep wrapped in each other, and when Maya woke in the morning to find Vincent watching her with a soft smile, she didn't feel the usual panic. Instead, she felt something that might have been peace. "Morning," he murmured. "Coffee, please." He brought her coffee in bed, then joined her, both of them propped against his ridiculous number of pillows. "What does your day look like?" he asked. "I have a showing this afternoon. 3 new artists, their first real exhibition. I'm nervous for them." "Can I come?" Maya hesitated. "It's not fancy. Just a small gathering, some wine and cheese, local art lovers. I love art, and I'd like to see you in your element doing what you do best." "Which is what?" "Making beauty accessible, giving emerging artists a chance." Vincent kissed her shoulder. "You're brilliant at what you do, Maya. I'd be honored to witness it." So that afternoon, Vincent showed up at her gallery dressed casually, blending in with the crowd. Maya watched him move through the space, talking to the artists, asking intelligent questions about their work, making them feel valued. Several times she caught him looking at her, and the pride in his expression made her chest tight. Alina cornered her near the refreshments. He came. He wanted to. "Maya, that man is looking at you like you hung the moon. Please tell me you're letting yourself be happy." "I'm trying. I slept with him last night." Alina's eyebrows shot up. And it was amazing and terrifying, and I told him I was falling in love with him." "Oh my God." Alina hugged her. "I'm so happy for you. You deserve this." "Do I? What if I'm making another mistake?" "Then you survive it like you did last time." "But Maya, I don't think you are. I've been watching him all afternoon. That man is gone for you." As if to prove Alina's point, Vincent appeared at Maya's elbow, handing her a glass of wine. "Your artists are incredible. I bought 2 pieces from Rachel, the one with the urban landscapes. You didn't have to do that. I wanted to. They're good." He glanced around the gallery. "You've built something special here. A space where creativity is celebrated, where new voices get heard. That matters." One of the artists, Marcus, approached nervously. "Maya, there's a collector here asking about commissioning a series. I don't know how to handle that. Let's go talk to them." Maya squeezed Vincent's hand. "Be right back." She spent the next hour helping Marcus navigate his first major commission, watching his excitement grow as terms were discussed and contracts outlined. This was what she loved. These moments where art became sustainable, where passion could turn into livelihood. When the gallery finally emptied and she'd locked the door, she found Vincent helping her clean up empty wine glasses and crumpled napkins. "You don't have to do that," she said. "I want to. Besides, I'm hoping you'll let me take you to dinner to celebrate." "I'm exhausted. Can we just order in? Even better." "Your place or mine?" Maya thought about his penthouse, beautiful but sterile. "Mine. I want to be in my space." They ordered Thai food and ate sitting on her studio floor, surrounded by paintings. Vincent asked about each piece, genuinely interested in her process, her inspiration. He told her about a new factory he was opening in Ohio, how he designed it with worker safety as the primary concern, incorporating features that cost more but would save lives. "You really care about that," Maya observed. "The safety measures, the people working for you." "It's why I started the company. My father's death was preventable. Every time I can make a workplace safer, it feels like honoring his memory." Vincent leaned back against her couch. "Money is just a way of keeping score. The real measure is whether I'm making a difference." "You are." Maya moved to sit beside him. "Vincent, I need to tell you something. That sounds ominous. It's not bad, just honest." She took a breath. "I've spent 3 years protecting myself, being alone, telling myself I was happy, and I was mostly, but being with you has shown me what I was missing. The connection, the intimacy, the feeling that someone sees me completely and doesn't run away. I'm still scared. Probably always will be a little, but I don't want to let fear keep me from this." Vincent cupped her face gently. "I meant what I said that first night. However long it takes, I'm here. If you need reassurance, I'll give it. If you need space, I'll respect it. If you need me to prove myself every single day, I'll do it gladly. I just need you to keep being you. That's enough." They made love again that night, slower this time, learning each other's bodies, building something that felt solid and real. Afterward, Maya lay with her head on Vincent's chest, listening to his heartbeat, and thought that maybe, possibly, she could let herself believe in happy endings again. The next few months unfolded like a dream. Vincent integrated into her life seamlessly, showing up for gallery events, meeting her friends, charming her elderly neighbor who kept trying to set Maya up with her grandson. He never flaunted his wealth, never made her feel less than, but he did take care of things in subtle ways: the gallery's perpetually broken heating system suddenly working perfectly, new lighting installed that made the art glow, a website upgrade that brought in more customers. "Did you do all this?" Maya asked one day, surveying the improvements. "I might have made some calls." Vincent didn't look remotely guilty. "Is that overstepping?" "It's generous, also a little controlling." "Fair, I'll check with you first next time." He pulled her close. "I just want to make your life easier where I can." "Is that so wrong?" "No, just takes some getting used to." Maya kissed him. "Thank you, really. Anything for you." They fell into a rhythm. Nights split between her apartment and his penthouse, weekends exploring the city or staying in bed until noon. Vincent introduced her to his mother, a tiny firecracker of a woman who hugged Maya immediately and demanded to know when they were getting married. "Mom," Vincent protested, but his ears were red. "What? I'm old. I want grandbabies before I die." "You're 63 and training for a marathon, still old enough to want grandbabies." She turned to Maya. "You're good for him. He smiles now." "I haven't seen him smile like this since before his father died." Maya met Vincent's sister, Vanessa, via video call. Vanessa grilled her for 20 minutes about her intentions, her background, whether she was with Vincent for his money. When she was satisfied, she grinned. "Okay, I like you. You're tougher than the last 3 combined. Don't let him steamroll you with the corporate CEO thing. He forgets sometimes that not everyone responds to efficient problem solving." "Noted," Maya said, laughing. In turn, Maya introduced Vincent to her father and stepmother over a slightly awkward dinner. Her father was reserved, her stepmother chatty and nervous, but by the end of the evening, even her father had warmed to Vincent's genuine interest in his work as a civil engineer. "He's good for you," her father said quietly as they said goodbye. "I can see it in your face. You're happy again." "I am," Maya admitted, surprised to realize just how true it was. Not everything was perfect. Vincent's work demands meant canceled plans and late-night calls that pulled him away mid-conversation. Maya's insecurities surfaced at unpredictable moments, usually when she saw photos of Vincent at business events with beautiful, accomplished women on his arm. "That's Senator Crawford's daughter," he explained after one particularly bad fight. "It was a fundraiser. We took one photo together, that's all. I know I'm being irrational. You're being human. David really did a number on you." Vincent pulled her onto his lap. "But Maya, look at me. I don't want anyone else. I go to these events because I have to, not because I enjoy them. Half the time I'm thinking about getting back to you. Promise, promise. In fact, come with me next time. Be my date officially. Show everyone that I'm completely and hopelessly in love with Maya Shepherd. You love me," her heart stuttered. They danced around the words for months, but neither had said them outright. Desperately, completely, have for a while now. Vincent's eyes were soft. "I love how you lose yourself in your painting. I love your terrible singing in the shower. I love the way you fight for your artists and stand up to me when I'm being an idiot. I love every single thing about you, and I should have told you sooner." Maya felt tears streaming down her face. "I love you too, so much it scares me." "Then let's be scared together." He kissed her, tasting the salt of her tears. "Move in with me." "What, move in?" "Not the penthouse if you don't want, we can get something together. But I'm tired of splitting time, tired of having two homes. I want to wake up with you every morning and fall asleep with you every night." "That's a big step. I know. And if you're not ready, I'll wait. But Maya, I'm all in here. I want everything with you." Maya thought about her tiny apartment, her carefully constructed solitary life. Then she thought about Vincent's laugh, his steady presence, the way he made her feel cherished and seen. Okay, let's find a place together. Something that's ours, not yours or mine, but ours." Vincent kissed her breathless, then pulled out his phone. "I'll call a realtor right now. It's midnight. They work on commission. They won't mind." Finding a place took 6 weeks and involved looking at what felt like 100 apartments and lofts. Vincent wanted to buy her a palace. Maya kept vetoing anything that felt too extravagant. They finally compromised on a gorgeous loft in Chelsea with huge windows, industrial details, and enough space for both a proper studio for Maya and a home office for Vincent. "It's perfect," Maya said, standing in the empty space, imagining their life here. "It's ours." Vincent wrapped his arms around her from behind. "I'm putting it in both our names, equal ownership. Vincent, I can't afford half of this." "Good thing I can afford all of it then. Maya, what's mine is yours. I want you to feel like this is really your home, not just somewhere you're living in because of me." She turned in his arms. "You know I'm not with you for your money, right? I'd love you if you were broke." "I know. It's one of the things I love most about you." He kissed her nose. "But let me do this. Let me give you stability and security. You've built your gallery from nothing, supported yourself, proven you don't need anyone. Now let someone take care of you for once." Maya felt her eyes well up. "How did I get so lucky? Pretty sure I'm the lucky one." They moved in together on a crisp October day, 9 months after they'd met. Vincent hired movers, but they insisted on unpacking themselves, turning it into an adventure of deciding where things should go, what should stay, and what should be donated. Maya's art went up on the walls alongside pieces they picked out together. Vincent's expensive furniture mixed with her thrift store finds, creating a space that felt genuinely like both of them. That night, they christened every room, laughing and stumbling and completely in love. Later, curled up in their new bed, Maya felt a contentment she'd never thought possible. "Thank you," she said softly. "For what?" "For being patient. For proving that not all men are like David. for making me believe in love again." Vincent propped himself up on one elbow, looking down at her. "You did that yourself. I just showed up at the right time. But Maya, I need you to know something. Every day with you is a gift. I don't take it for granted, not for a second. And I'm going to keep proving myself worthy of your trust for as long as you'll let me." Forever sounds good. Forever it is. The next year unfolded with the natural rhythm of two lives merging into one. Maya's gallery thrived, and Vincent surprised her by offering to invest in an expansion. At first, she'd refused, not wanting to mix business and personal, but he'd made a compelling case about believing in her vision and wanting to help more artists the way she'd helped him see beauty again. "Think of me as a silent partner," he said. "You maintain full creative control. I just provide capital and, if you want it, some business infrastructure advice. You're brilliant at the art side, Maya, but you hate dealing with accounting and taxes and all that boring stuff. Let me help with that." They'd hammered out an agreement that felt fair, with lawyers to make sure everything was above board. The expansion meant Maya could offer residencies to emerging artists, provide them with studio space and a small stipend to focus on their work. It was everything she'd dreamed of when she'd first opened the gallery. Vincent's company continued to grow as well, but he'd taken Maya's influence to heart and started delegating more, trusting his management team, making time for a life outside the office. They traveled together, long weekends in Paris and Barcelona and Tokyo, mixing business trips with pleasure, exploring new cities and collecting art and memories. "I never took vacations before you," Vincent said one afternoon as they walked along the Seine. "I thought I couldn't afford to be away from the office. And now I realize I couldn't afford not to. What's the point of all that work if I don't have someone to share the rewards with?" Maya squeezed his hand. "You've changed too, you know. You're more relaxed, happier." "Love will do that." He pulled her close, kissing her despite the crowds of tourists. "Best decision I ever made walking into your gallery that rainy night. Best decision I ever made letting you stay." Back in New York, life settled into comfortable patterns. Sunday brunch with Vincent's mother, weekly calls with Vanessa and her family, gallery openings and business dinners and quiet nights at home. Maya had never felt more secure, more loved, more herself, which made it all the more terrifying when doubt crept back in. It started small. A woman at one of Vincent's company events, beautiful and sophisticated, who mentioned working with him closely on a new project. She was brilliant and accomplished, and everything Maya sometimes felt she wasn't. Logically, Maya knew she was being irrational. Vincent had given her no reason to doubt him, but David's betrayal had left scars that occasionally still ached. She tried to push it down, but Vincent noticed. He always noticed. "Talk to me," he said one night after she'd been particularly quiet. "What's going on in that head of yours?" "It's nothing. Maya, we promised honesty, remember?" she sighed, feeling foolish. "That woman at your event last week, Jennifer, she's working on the tech integration project with you." "Yes, she's brilliant. Saved us about $3 million in operational costs with her systems design." Vincent's eyes narrowed. "Why?" "No reason. She just seemed very close to you." Understanding dawned on his face. "You're jealous." "I'm being ridiculous. You're being human." Vincent pulled her onto his lap, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Jennifer is gay, happily married to her wife of 10 years, and has absolutely zero interest in me beyond professional collaboration. But even if she weren't, it wouldn't matter. Maya, you're it for me. The only one I want, the only one I see. I know, I do. I just sometimes can't believe this is real, that you're real, that you chose me. Baby, I didn't choose you like you were an option on a menu. I fell for you because you're extraordinary, because you make me laugh and challenge me and see me as more than just a bank account." He cupped her face. I understand that trust is hard for you. I get it, but I need you to fight those demons, okay? Don't let David win by poisoning what we have. Maya nodded, tears threatening. I'm trying. Some days are just harder than others. Then on those days you tell me. You don't pull away and spiral. We face it together. Vincent kissed her forehead. I'm not going anywhere, Maya. Not now, not ever. You're stuck with me. Good, I like being stuck with you. They worked through it as they'd worked through every other challenge. Vincent started being more deliberate about introducing her to his colleagues, making it clear she was his partner in every sense. Maya pushed herself to trust, to believe that this time really was different. And then, on a perfect spring evening almost 2 years after they'd met, Vincent proved just how different they were at the gallery, alone after another successful opening. Maya was tired but happy, buzzing with the satisfaction of seeing another artist's dreams come true. Vincent was helping her clean up as he always did when he suddenly stopped. Maya. Something in his voice made her turn. Vincent was on one knee, a small velvet box in his hands, his gray eyes bright with emotion. I had a whole speech planned, he said. Something about how you made me believe in beauty again. How you're the best thing that ever happened to me. How I can't imagine my life without you. But standing here in this space where we met, where you first warned me away and I first promised to make you forget being hurt, I can only think of one thing to say. Maya's hands covered her mouth, tears already flowing. Marry me, Maya Shepherd. Let me spend forever making good on my promise. Let me be the man who gets to love you for the rest of our lives. Let me be yours, completely and always. Yes, she breathed. Yes, absolutely yes. Vincent slipped the ring onto her finger, a simple but stunning design that was so perfectly her taste she knew he'd put thought into every detail. Then he stood and kissed her, and Maya tasted joy and promise and forever on his lips. I love you, she said when they finally broke apart. So much. You kept your promise, you know. You made me forget the hurt. You taught me what real love looks like. We're just getting started. Vincent grinned, looking younger and happier than she'd ever seen him. Wait until you see what I have planned for the next 50 years. Can't wait. They got married 6 months later in a small ceremony with just family and close friends. Vincent's mother cried through the entire thing. Vanessa served as Maya's maid of honor, having bonded with her over the past year. Elena gave a toast that had everyone laughing and crying simultaneously. But the moment that mattered most to Maya was when they exchanged vows. Vincent had insisted on writing his own, and when he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. Maya, 2 years ago I walked into your gallery looking for art and found my entire world. You've taught me that success means nothing without someone to share it with. That vulnerability isn't weakness but strength. That love isn't about grand gestures but daily choices to show up, to be present, to choose each other over and over. I promise to spend every day earning your trust, to support your dreams as fiercely as you support mine. To make you laugh, to hold you when you cry, to be your partner in every adventure. I promise to never let you forget how loved you are, how extraordinary, how perfect for me. From this day forward, you're not just the artist who captured my imagination. You're my wife, my home, my everything. Maya's own vows were shorter, her voice breaking as she spoke. Vincent, you taught me to trust again. To believe that love could be real, could be safe, could be everything I'd stopped letting myself hope for. You're the best surprise of my life. I promise to love you with everything I have, to build a life with you that honors both our dreams, to be your safe harbor the way you've been mine. Thank you for being patient. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for staying. I love you forever. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Vincent kissed her like they were the only 2 people in the world. and Maya felt complete in a way she'd never imagined possible. Their honeymoon was 3 weeks in Italy, a perfect blend of art and food and lazy days exploring ancient cities and tiny villages. They talked about the future, about starting a family, about the life they wanted to build together. Vincent was adamant that he wanted to be an active father, not someone who missed his kids' lives because of work. Maya admitted she'd always wanted children but had given up on that dream after David. "Well, the dream's back on," Vincent said, pulling her close on a beach in Positano. "How many kids are we having? Let's start with one and see how it goes. Deal. Though I'm lobbying for at least 2, I loved having a sister growing up." They returned to New York refreshed and more in love than ever. Life continued its beautiful routine, but now with the added title of husband and wife, a bond that felt both exciting and deeply comfortable. Vincent moved forward with plans to take his company partially public, setting up a structure that would allow him to step back from day-to-day operations within 5 years. Maya launched a mentorship program at the gallery, pairing established artists with emerging ones, creating a community that thrived on mutual support. And then, 8 months after their wedding, Maya took a pregnancy test and saw 2 pink lines. She told Vincent that evening over dinner, sliding the test across the table instead of saying anything. He stared at it for a long moment, then looked up at her with wonder in his eyes. "Really? Really? We're having a baby." Vincent was around the table in an instant, pulling her into his arms, laughing and crying simultaneously. "We're having a baby. Oh my God, Maya, we're having a baby. Are you happy?" Happy doesn't even begin to cover it. He placed his hand on her still flat stomach with a reverence that made her teary. "Thank you. Thank you for trusting me enough to build this life with me." The pregnancy was smooth, filled with doctor's appointments that Vincent never missed, midnight cravings he satisfied with patience, and plans for transforming their spare room into a nursery. They found out they were having a girl, and Vincent promptly burst into tears. "A daughter," he kept saying. "We're having a daughter." "We'll have to teach her to be strong," Maya said, "to know her worth, to never settle for less than she deserves. With you as her mother, how could she be anything else?" Their daughter, Emma Rose Quinn, was born on a snowy December evening. She had Maya's dark hair and Vincent's gray eyes, and from the moment Vincent held her, Maya knew she'd never seen a man more in love. "Hi, baby girl," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. "I'm your dad. And I promise to always protect you, to always support you, to love you and your mom more than anything in this world." Maya watched her husband become a father and felt her heart expand beyond what she'd thought possible. This was the family she'd stopped dreaming of, the love she'd thought she'd never find, all because she'd taken a chance on a man who walked into her gallery and promised to make her forget being hurt. And he had. Not by erasing the past, but by proving that the future could be so bright, so full of love, that the shadows no longer mattered. Vincent was true to his word, scaling back at work to be present for Emma's first months. He changed diapers and paced the floors with her during late-night fussing, and looked at his daughter like she was the greatest miracle he'd ever witnessed. Maya divided her time between the gallery and motherhood, grateful for the staff she'd built who could keep things running when she needed to be home. Emma grew from an infant to a toddler, filling their home with laughter and chaos and endless joy. They celebrated her first birthday with both families, Vincent's mother declaring it the best day of her life, watching her granddaughter smash cake everywhere. Vanessa's kids adored their cousin, and Maya's father softened in ways she'd never seen, becoming a doting grandfather. "I think we should have another one," Vincent said one night after they'd finally gotten Emma to sleep. "Already? She's barely 2. I know. But I love this, our family. I want to do it again while we're still young enough to keep up with them. Maya pretended to consider, even though she'd been thinking the same thing. One condition. Anything. Next time you're the one who handles the 3 a.m. feedings. Deal. I'll handle all the 3 a.m. feedings for both kids if it means growing our family. Their son, Daniel James Quinn, arrived 2 years after Emma. He had Vincent's build and Maya's smile, and he completed their family in a way that felt perfect. Vincent took an extended paternity leave, and Maya watched him navigate 2 children under 3 with patience and humor and overwhelming love. "I never knew I could be this happy," he said one afternoon. Emma on his hip, Daniel sleeping against his chest. "Everything I built, all the success, it all pales compared to this." Maya took a photo capturing the moment. "You're a wonderful father. I learned from the best." He kissed Emma's head. "You showed me what real love looks like, Maya. Everything good in my life flows from that." Years passed in a beautiful blur. Emma started school, showing early talent for art that made Maya beam with pride. Daniel was all energy and curiosity, constantly taking things apart to see how they worked, much to Vincent's delight. The gallery continued to thrive, now with a satellite location and a reputation for discovering major talents. Vincent's company was hugely successful, but he'd kept his promise about balance, never letting work consume him the way it had before Maya. They celebrated 10 years of marriage at the same Italian beach where they'd honeymooned, their kids with Vincent's mother for a week. It felt surreal to Maya, looking at her husband across a candlelit dinner, realizing that this was her life now. That the scared woman who'd warned him away a decade ago had transformed into someone secure and loved and content. "What are you thinking?" Vincent asked, reaching for her hand. "That I almost didn't give you a chance, that I was so close to letting fear win. But you didn't. You were brave enough to risk it. You made it easy. You kept showing up, kept proving yourself, kept loving me even when I made it difficult." Maya squeezed his fingers. "Best 10 years of my life, mine too. Ready for 10 more, ready for 50 more." Vincent raised his glass. "To 50 more years of making you forget you were ever hurt, to building this beautiful life together. To us." "To us," Maya echoed, and as she looked at her husband, her partner, the man who'd kept every promise he'd ever made, she knew that some love stories really did get their happy endings. They flew home to their children, to their full and chaotic and perfect life. Emma had painted them a welcome home picture, all wild colors and enthusiasm. Daniel had apparently tried to build a robot out of kitchen appliances, and Vincent's mother was frazzled but laughing. The house was messy and loud, and everything Maya had once thought she'd never have. That night, with the kids finally in bed, Maya found Vincent in their home office, staring at something on his desk. She moved closer and saw it was the card he'd given her that first night, the one that had led her to discover who he really was. "Why do you still have that?" she asked. "To remind me of the night everything changed. The night I walked into a gallery looking for art and found my entire world." He pulled her onto his lap. "I keep it to remember how lucky I am, how close I came to never meeting you if I hadn't found the courage to walk through that door." Maya kissed him softly. "I'm glad you did. I'm glad you were stubborn and persistent and patient enough to wait for me to catch up. Worth every second." Vincent wrapped his arms around her. "I love you, Maya Quinn, more today than yesterday, less than tomorrow. I love you too, forever." And as they sat there in the quiet of their home, their children sleeping down the hall, the city lights twinkling beyond their windows, Maya thought about the journey that had brought them here. From hurt to healing, from fear to trust, from 2 separate people to a family bound by love and choice and daily commitment. Vincent had promised to make her forget being hurt, And he had. Not through grand gestures or expensive gifts, though those had certainly happened, but through consistency. Through showing up every day and choosing her every day, and proving that real love wasn't about perfect moments but perfect commitment. She'd been hurt before. But now, 10 years and a lifetime later, wrapped in her husband's arms in the life they'd built together, that hurt felt like something from another lifetime. A chapter that had closed to make room for something infinitely better. Their story wasn't perfect. They'd had fights and challenges and moments of doubt, but through it all they'd chosen each other. And that choice, made over and over across days and years, had created something unbreakable. Maya Shepard, now Maya Quinn, had learned to trust again, to love again, to believe that happy endings weren't just for fairy tales, but for real people willing to take real risks. And every time she looked at Vincent, every time he smiled at her like she was his whole world, she was grateful for that rainy night when a stranger had walked into her gallery and changed everything. Because sometimes, if you're brave enough to take a chance on love, it takes a chance right back on you. And sometimes, the person who promises to spend forever making you forget turns into the person you can't imagine forever without. That was their story. Not perfect, but perfectly theirs. And it was more than enough.